In this video, I'm going to explain the importance of developing awareness of our entire body when we play the piano and not just our hands and our fingers. So without further ado, let's jump right in. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm here in my new studio and I'm excited to talk to you about developing awareness of our entire body at the keyboard. This concept of playing with our whole body or being aware of our whole body is actually really important because the most common part of the body, or really the only part that most people are aware of when they play the piano, is from the wrist down or maybe from the elbow down, but that is it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use three basic examples here to show you how that's actually destructive to our piano technique and to making a beautiful sound, or just making the sounds that we want and making the music come alive and getting the kind of colors and sounds that we want in any kind of piece that we're playing. We're going to start by talking about the first concept, which is that everything is basically connected. So our body is one body together. We have different parts of our body, but they're all connected. So my arm is connected to my shoulder is connected to my back, etc. And really what I'm talking about here is our skeletal structure, okay, is all connected together. So if I have a lot of tension in my shoulder, that will actually cause tension in my arm. And this, of course, is also important to understand if we're thinking about the muscular structure, right? So these muscles in my shoulder come in and connect into my chest and my back. And if these muscles are really tense, it actually impinges movement in the arm, because when I move at the keyboard, my arms and shoulders and everything have to move together. And likewise, muscles in my upper back connect and go over and around muscles into my neck, etc. So if I have a lot of neck tension, that will translate into my back, etc. So everything being connected, it's really important to be aware of everything when we play. So if I'm playing even just something simple, doesn't have to be complicated, I need to be aware of my whole body, my arms all moving together, right? If I'm only really thinking about my fingers and my wrists, then notice how my upper arm, my shoulder moves, okay? So as I move up the keyboard, my shoulder, everything has to move together. So it's really important to be aware of that movement, aware of the state of the muscles and everything else, okay? So the second concept that we're going to talk about is a little bit more in detail about movement up and down the keyboard. And this is basically the concept that when we move up and down the keyboard, we have to use more than just our hands and our fingers, or let's say the lower part of our arms. But it goes actually deeper than just the shoulders, which is all I really mentioned, okay? So if I'm going to play low on the keyboard, I'm going to lean over like this. My arm is pretty straight here. And so I'm down like this. Or if I'm going to play up the keyboard, I'm like this. If I'm going to play down the keyboard, okay, I'm over here and I'm playing down and I lean over like so. So that's not just the arms, it's not just the shoulders, it's my back, it's my torso, okay? Now, you can't see it perfectly with this lens, but you can actually see that my legs are moving, so I'm actually using my feet and my legs to kind of help counterbalance me. Now, as you can imagine, that requires a certain amount of awareness of that part of my body, okay? So not only am I aware of my hands, my fingers, my lower arms, my upper arms, my shoulders, but also my head, okay? There's a saying that sometimes people will say when thinking about posture and like Alexander technique, this is common, is that as the head goes, the body follows, okay? So as I do that, my head is actually moving and it's almost guiding that movement kind of in a way, okay? So my neck and my head and everything is moving together. So if I'm practicing something and I notice that I'm kind of moving over, but see how my head is tipped to the side, I need to be aware of that because this is going to cause tension in these muscles in my neck, which will translate into my shoulders, right? So what I like to think about, and I'm going to step over here to the whiteboard because we have some wonderful drawings to enjoy here, is that we can't just think of simply the arms and the shoulders when we play the piano. Teachers are becoming more and more sort of in tune to that concept that we have to think of more than just the lower part of the arm when we play the piano. But they usually go up to the shoulder, and that's about it, okay? And sometimes people will say things like, when you play the piano, you use your whole body. And it's a little bit like, really, do I use my toes? Well, maybe not so much, but your toes do move as your feet move, okay? So I think that it can be a little bit sort of overdone and seem like almost a ridiculous statement, but it's really important because, as I mentioned, when we're moving up or down the keyboard, everything has to move together, okay? And if you think about it, it's almost impossible to move your head and your neck and your shoulders and your arms and your torso, okay? And my weight is actually shifting, okay? So as I'm doing this, my weight is centered between my two sit bones, right into the bench. As I lean down, now my weight is sort of leaning to the one side, okay? So if I lean this way, you can see that there's no weight on this sit bone, essentially. Okay, so that requires awareness, my feet, etc. I was just practicing yesterday, actually, and I was noticing that the position of my hands and my arms as I was playing around the keyboard, it actually changed how the music sounded, which is the next point that I want to make here. So this is from a suite by Respighi, and this is the fast movement, the presto. And there's a section where essentially I have to reach my left hand over and play these big chords, like so. And what I noticed is that if I don't lean over, this is really difficult right here. There's a lot of tension coming through here, and I feel like I don't have any power. These are supposed to be forte chords. But if, as I do that, I lean over, now there's no tension in my arm and my shoulder. But what I also noticed is listen to how much it's really hard to play those chords with power, but make sure that they're not harsh sounding. But as I do this, then I can control that sound much better, because instead of my arm being at an angle, I'm more like this, okay? So that's sort of the last point that I think is important to realize, is that it's not just about avoiding tension so that we can play faster or whatever. It's actually about playing in a way that's efficient for our bodies to avoid tension, but the end result is perhaps playing fast, but what I like to think about is producing a good sound, okay? Teachers often say that tension is actually audible. You can hear it when a student plays, and I have experienced that time and time again where a student's playing and I'm like, they just sound tense and angular and awkward, okay? So when the body is out of alignment, when it's in an awkward position, when there's lots of tension, it means that we can't control the notes very well, which means that it's going to have a very harsh, angular sort of sound, okay? So this is a really important concept, and I wanted to make a video on it because I know that this has been something that has drastically improved my own playing, and I think it can be often overlooked. If you enjoyed the video, go ahead and hit the like button. I really appreciate that. And if you have any comments or questions, put them down below. Always love hearing from you guys. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.